Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today I'm going to be talking about a 2004 5 film that I think is extremely underrated. That I think most people haven't even heard of. It's Stay. I forgot the name of the director, but he directed World War Z, which
Mark,
is funny.
Mark Forrester.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is the writer, David Benioff. He later went on to be one of the creators and like showrunners of Game of Thrones. So
Oh,
interesting
interesting.
cast members, interesting filmmakers, and interesting cast for this one back in like early 2000s.
Yeah, and it feels very 2000s.
Yep.
The way it's edited, the way it's shot, the music, it just has a very 2000s feel to it, which is not like a criticism or anything. It just feels of that era. It reminds me a lot of House in some ways, which is funny because that show is like, grounded in reality. Um, but mostly the film reminds me of is it episode 5 of Midnight Club, um
Oh.
which um I guess we're getting into spoilers because you can't talk about this film without talking about the quote unquote twist.
Yeah. If
So
you've
yeah.
if you've never heard of this movie, out of the gate, we'll get into recommendations later, but if you never heard of this, don't spoil it. I didn't spoil this movie for the longest period of time, and I heard there was more to it under the surface, and it's true. Avoid spoilers if you've never seen it, and maybe check this out if you've never heard of it, because it's worth not spoiling the movie for yourself. So
Yeah. So yeah, with that out of the way, obviously, the whole film is inside his
Ryan
mind.
Gosling dies.
Yeah. It's all inside his mind just before he dies. Like it has like this dreamlike quality to it, which I find interesting. And it reminds me there's an episode of Midnight Club that's like this, sort of just like going through the character as like their final moments of consciousness before they die, which I find very
Well,
interesting.
I mean, hell, now that you put it that way, it almost sounds a little bit like what they describe in Midnight Mass when they're talking about what you might call an atheistic view of dying
Uh,
and those final moments and what happens to your body.
yeah, it's just
So,
your brain
um,
releasing DMT, and you have these hallucinations and dreams, and it all mixes together. That's basically what this film is about. Um, and it all happens within the last few seconds of Ryan Gosling's life, which is interesting. I like that idea. You on your Letterboxd review, it seemed you didn't love it, so yeah.
I it's funny. Like I put in my review, Bardo. You compared it to Life of Chuck,
Yeah.
and aptly so. And I compared it to Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, and both movies are movies where they're completely anchored to a framing device.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, that's why everything was that way.
Uh-huh.
And I often don't find those movies satisfying because it's, especially in the case of this movie, there's all these details that you can point out, and it's admirable. It's clever filmmaking, what you see in this movie. But the wider meaning, the wider point of it, I feel gets lost in the basic presentation, because by the end of the movie, when they basically give you all the answers, you're just watching a dying man. And it's like, did anything you watched matter? It's like it seemed to matter to him. And I suppose this ties into like, I suppose the wider point of the movie is his father and his and mother, like, and
Well, yeah, the guilt
reconciling
he
them.
feels over killing his parents is the like lingering feeling in his mind, just as he drifts away and dies. So, yeah.
But it's all like a dream, and
Well, obviously, it's a
even the
dream.
main
It's
character
like
doesn't.
we said, it's what the whole DMT thing that Midnight Mass says. It's how your brain just releases the last bit of like chemicals and you know lets you like drift away to sleep.
Yeah,
As
the human body fights like a motherfucker to keep itself alive, so that's That's an interesting interpretation about what some people might have described as heaven or hell. So
Yeah,
that might be the explanation. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I
um,
think I think it's cool. I think just the whole idea of like the final like thoughts of a dying man and it being like his mind trying to contextualize everything that's gone on for like the last like few seconds and trying to understand it and making him feel like basically he's like living this whole different life just to try to like um come to terms with the idea that he killed his parents and like the love of his life, you know. Like I don't know, I find that fascinating. I don't know.
I think it works. And like I said, the details in this movie mattered more. But the second he was walking away from that car crash, of like, I don't think it's hard to figure the movie out
Oh
and
yeah,
all the
no, I don't.
bizarre editing
That
choices.
is
I
one
mean,
thing I was gonna ask you is like how long it took you to figure out because I think it's fairly easy to figure it out.
yeah, it opens with the car crash. Like, but by the way, that opening shot is incredibly
Yeah.
memorable and solid stuff. But the movie opens with a burning car, and he walks away, and they ask, like, he later asks him, like, why did you torch the car? And it's like, that probably didn't. What do you mean, like, torch the car? And this is the whole thing about the movie. All the details are all just meant to retrospectively come back, all the weirdness.
Yeah,
But
I mean the way they say it is that like he put set his car on fire in the middle of a bridge and walked away and that's why he's like under psychiatric help. So that's like the way his brain is trying to contextualize it. It's interesting. I mean, the his brain sees a doctor, and instead of seeing him as like like a doctor that fixes injuries, it
he
interprets
sees
it
him as a
as like a
shrink. Yeah.
psychiatrist. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the last person who can help him as he's dying, and there is an interesting thing about how like he wants to die basically. Um, because of his guilt and the whole like thing in his mind of like he doesn't even want to fight it because he feels guilty. It's fascinating. I don't know.
I It's one of those things that ties into how much the movie matters, quote unquote, which I reference being like an issue because you can give agency to a character who's dying or just going to die at the end of the story, of course, but the idea is that the whole movie is in Henry's mind, and I wonder I wonder how much of the material is like actually applicable to his life. Like, was he depressed and going for a fine arts major and the like? Everything he talks about with that artist, was that, which from what I understand was just
Well,
completely
from
made up.
what I understand, he projected onto Naomi Watts the whole like suicide thing. As far as I understand it, like he was depressed and tried to kill himself. His girlfriend Athena like saved him, and so that's why he projects that onto Naomi Watts and how
Well, he
Ewan
does have
McGregor saved him.
scars, right? Not the same ones, but
Uh-huh.
he you can see he has scars when he
Yeah.
burns himself, and self-harm's prominent in the dream itself, as it were. But um so that's the idea, is that's part of his history, and her character is just that manifested. So
Well,
it's in his past.
yeah, I mean obviously. I mean the whole thing is that these like I'm always gonna come back to the way it's phrased in Midnight Mass because I just think it's perfect. But the whole idea of like dreams mixing in with reality and like what you're seeing in your last few moments and everything, um, and the reality of the situation is just that he's seeing these two people trying to help him. But his brain like projects his own feelings onto them because that's how it's like conceiving of these ideas like, oh, there's a person trying to help me. It's not he's a doctor, also he's a psychiatrist. And there's this nurse trying to help him and he sees her as Athena, who he was about to propose, and then he sees her, he projects his own like depressed feelings onto her, so she understands what he's going through. And I mean, even the very vivid description of her attempt to kill herself, I think, is supposed to be like some way where he tried to kill himself. That's the way I interpret it anyway. I mean, it could just be bullshit that his brain is making up, but I don't think that would make a lot of sense or like really have a point. I think the point is meant to be um that he was projecting his own feelings onto Naomi Watts. I forgot the character's name, but yeah. As she like her depression and her attempts to commit suicide is like how he tried to do it. So yeah.
Yeah. This is a weird movie. I've seen movies like this. This movie might have been like an A24 movie in a different life.
Yeah, I mean if it came
It's
out like 12 years later, it would have been an A24 film.
yeah. It's certainly like the movie got really bad reviews. If you look it up, it doesn't get favorable reviews, and it's one of those movies that, I always love that when you watch a movie and it gets awful reviews and you're just like, come on, guys. Even just the basic filmmaking, like in terms of the
I mean,
cinematography,
the
the
editing
directing,
alone.
all the fucking detail. Yeah, like I said, it's fairly obvious what they're doing because like the main characters get swapped in framing and there's all these intentional continuity errors, but I just it can get a little overbearing, the fades and people just moving in and out of everywhere, but the idea there is supposed to be that it's like a dream, that's how
Yeah.
dreams happen.
Well,
Some
it's kind of what
transitions
I
are
love about it
really
is the dreamlike quality. Because, like, there's some things where, like, and I mean, it's kind of what I love. There's a moment where he steps out of the cab and the camera, like, tilts up. And instead of seeing him walk out of the cab, we already see him in front of the house. And then he knocks on the door and there's no one inside. And then the mother is just sitting there by the front and he doesn't question it. Like, as if, like, he didn't
well
see
that
it. It's just
scene.
like the dream logic, because when you're having a dream, that's how you feel. You're like, things just kind of happen and you don't really question the logic even if they don't make any sense, if you're teleporting or whatever. I thought that
I
was
would
really cool.
say that I would say that was the most dream feeling sequence in the entire film.
Uh-huh.
That was exactly how dreams feel, where there's just
Yeah.
random shit. It seems normal enough, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
Nothing makes it. I always love that line in Inception, like dreams they feel real when we're inside them. I mean, it wasn't really till you woke up and you realized something was actually strange, and it feels exactly like dog just biting him and her head bleeding. You're just like, what the hell? So I don't know, man.
I,
It's
yeah, I don't know, it's weird because I think we agree on like what the film is doing and that it achieved it. I think it's just not your vibe, but like I really enjoy it.
well, my thing. So the movie ends, and it's just, he quote unquote kills himself in the dream, and then he wakes up, and you get this reveal. And my thing is that it's just all spelled out plainly. It's like you
Uh-huh.
see everyone in the crowd, they all repeat their lines, and it's like, well, don't you see that's in his dream that he's having, and that's why everything happens. Is the entire movie was 5 minutes, and that's my thing. The entire movie was 5 minutes. You're just like,
Yeah.
you got in a crash, died, and this is last moments. How compelling or interesting of a character is this guy? I almost feel like a different framing device would have. I suppose the main character, played by Ewan McGregor, is meant to be Henry as well. Like they're
I mean, yeah,
both.
they're all
They're just
manifestations
different
of his own
viewpoints of the
mind, yeah.
dream. But I I found it a little hard to get attached to the character when it was basically about his dream. It's it's well put together, but like I don't know, something about it just rubbed me wrong. Especially the fact that like it just feels like the answers are just thrown out in the ending, and I don't think it felt like a twist. It felt like it was meant to surprise you, but I'm like, everything that was subtle before in the film is just like thrown out at once, and they give you all the answers at once, and you're like, okay, that's why that was that way. And Like,
Sure.
all right,
I mean, yeah, I kind of get it. I don't know if you could make this film without that ending though. Like
true. I mean,
without just like
well,
spelling it out. How would you end the film? Would you just like have the sequence of him driving the car and crashing and then end it without the whole like the people trying to help him or
well, I mean, you don't want that in general because part of the point of the ending is, that the people we see in our last moments are the people that are there for us, kind of define our deaths, and that death brings people together. It stops people. I mean, the ending note of the movie is like the two characters that are actually like existed, like Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor's character. They get coffee. They're just like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm like, you know what? That will that blossom into anything? It's like maybe, maybe not, but one way or another, they're connected now.
yeah.
So I I get exactly what the movie was going for. It's
You
just a
do,
matter of like
clearly.
punching out power where I didn't think the framing device was worth it. Like I said, you love Life of Chuck. I'm not the biggest fan of it because when you realize what the entire film is, you're just like, okay, I'm watching a movie in reverse, and I don't want to spoil Life of Chuck too much, but whatever. But and Bardo is the same. Again, like it's a spoiler to say the ending, but there's just a reveal at the end. You're like, oh, that's why everything was that way because this. And I don't often find those types of movies too satisfying because weird shit happens and it's all like, woo, what's that? And it doesn't make any sense, and it's not really like a mystery at first because it's hard. I suppose this movie's a little easier to figure out than like Bardo. I'd have to see that again, but um I don't know. Something about it just makes me feel like the framing
Yeah.
device isn't worth it, even though it's the entire point of the film. So.
Yeah, no, I get
Well,
it. It makes sense. Considering the stuff I've shown you before, it does feel like the type of film you wouldn't really love. I love films that are like metaphorical and like surreal, and it doesn't matter if it really happened or not. Like I find, because part of the whole idea for film with me is that it's all fake anyway. It's fiction. So, oh, it didn't matter because the character ended up dying, like, for real afterwards. Like, sure. Um, like in the movie, but regardless, the story was real to them. You know, like it's all fake anyway. So just because the story doesn't matter, like really, it still matters. I don't know how to phrase this. I hope you get what I mean.
I think I do.
Yeah. So I don't know.
And reel it.
It doesn't bug me when films are like, "Oh, it wasn't real," because you're like, "Oh, you're just like exploring a character's like state of mind. It's a character study inside their own mind and as the final moments of death." I find that idea fascinating. So, I don't know.
It's it's a very detail-oriented, well put together film, which in a different life would have probably not been a classic, but would have been seen. It would have had like a Life of Chuck reputation. So, because it's very similar to Life of Chuck, it really is. I don't like Life of Chuck though, and I don't. I honestly, I don't like these types of movies. Like I mentioned Bardo as well, and these are just. I would prefer a movie that was had a simpler framing device to explore this one character rather than dancing around it. Because Henry isn't really the main character. He's kind of in and out. The entire movie is about him, like the way that like dreams are often all about us. But I don't know. It's your mileage may vary. I get why this movie got like negative reviews when it came out because it's odd, it's confusing, and there's a lot of intentionally bizarre and off like putting choices, especially with the editing. We were mentioning fades. There's intentional continuity errors, but it's purposeful. It's a very purposeful movie, and it's definitely it definitely knows what it's trying to do and
Yeah.
has a reason for why it does it. So
Yeah, I think of like the movies, what it's aiming for, it does exactly what it wanted to do. Now, if it's your cup of tea or not, I don't know. But I think the movie succeeded in every way, everything it wanted to be. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I think it's fascinating. I've been really obsessed with this film for a while when I watched it in like 2020 because I was like, wow, it's kind of fascinating. And I was curious to rewatch it after so long, how much I've changed since then of what I like about movies. But it still holds up in my mind. I think it's very, very interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. Um, it does feel like more of a like cult classic type of film instead of a really like crowd pleaser. I don't think most people would enjoy this film. So yeah, take that however you want.
Yeah, it's a cult movie really is what this feels like. This feels like a movie that a certain type of person just they can't get enough of it. Um, it all depends on the on type of person though. Your mileage may vary. I would still recommend it, and I led with that with the kind of a spoiler intro because it's worth it if nothing else for all the details. It's kind of insane the amount of details that are
Mhm.
in this movie. There's all these blink and you miss it moments,
It's
with
fascinating.
stuff in the
The editing
background. I
and
mean,
the whole like the set design, like everything is purposeful. Every single thing. It's fascinating.
yeah, they're not not many films released nowadays are as purposeful and as in control of the details as
Uh-huh.
this movie. I mean, legitimately, some of it feels like what Kubrick did in The Shining with intentional continuity errors and throwing the viewer for a loop. But I'm like, that's Stanley Kubrick. You know, he was obsessed with details, and it's it's one of those movies.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about actually before we wrap up here is the story about the artist and the Sigmund Freud story. Because I feel like that more than the framing device is the greater point. There's that line about bad art being like a record of humanity's failures
Uh-huh.
or something like that, and Henry looks up to this artist who took his own life on his 21st birthday. He's like essentially copying what he did, and like self harm and suicide are prominent elements in the story. So what did you think of that? What did you think they were going for with that? And that was how did that tie in with Henry?
I think obviously because he was suicidal. I think it's just a way of his mind accepting that he is dying and trying to like find a meaning. Be like, no, see, I'm
Well,
creating art through my death. At least it's gonna be beautiful or something. That's how I see it, anyway.
that's the thing is like suicide is I am not a fan of movies or stories that are pro suicide as it were.
I
It
don't think the movie
depends
is
on
pro
the
suicide. I
framing.
think it's just the
Nor
way his mind is like making sense of his death and being like, at
yeah,
least it's going to be beautiful. I don't know if that's the right
well
word,
I
but they
mean,
talk a lot
I
about
watched
beauty in the film.
watched
So,
watch the ending. That's exactly literally at that. It's going to be beautiful. And that's a line as well. There's too much beauty in the world.
mhm.
My thing is that in trying to analyze the movie from that perspective, you want to draw meaning from like the character's inspirations or how he makes art because that's one thing that seems to give him some happiness is making art, drawing those paintings. But it's just like that's it. Like anything you might read into those stories about the person on fire or the artist who took his own life, it just feels like it's all a metaphor. And that's the thing. I like the entire movie basically feels like a metaphor, and it's all a dream. Does that mean the entire movie doesn't matter? It's like sort of from my perspective. But it's just the whole thing is that this you're watching the last maybe couple minutes of a guy's life when he is dying and essentially already in the grave. So um yeah, like I said, your mileage may vary. I would still recommend stay though. So
Yeah,
because it's worthwhile, and if nothing else, for all the details and the
yeah,
filmmaking that was poured into it.
yeah. Just the cinematography and editing alone, it's worth it for that. Um, all right. Now, Evan, it's your turn, it seems, to recommend something.
Yes, it is. I'll go with something I picked earlier this week. A rewatch, a movie that I watched all the time when I was a kid, but you know those movies that are meant for like a older audience, and they, or even just it's been like 10 plus years since you've seen it and you don't really remember it all that well, but like e- even though you almost have the entire film in your head, it's not, it's just something that you're not fresh on.
Mm-hmm.
Um this is also a movie related to Ryan Gosling, in a movie that just came out and is referenced heavily in it. I am going with Rocky. It's been years since I've seen the original Rocky and given it a full rewatch, so I
Fun.
want to watch it.
I've never actually seen any of the Rocky films, so
None of them, really?
none of
Wow,
them. Yeah.
okay.
We'll see. Maybe I'll
Oh,
pull
that
a crazy fucking thing like I did with Saw and watch all the Rocky and Creed films in a week. Who knows?
there's not too many of them. I mean, wow. Those are childhood memories for me.
Uh-huh.
Those are getting rewatched all the time in my house. So yeah.
Yeah. Fun. Okay. I'm excited to watch it for the first time. It's just one of those things where um like the classic films that I've never seen that I definitely should. So, yeah. Fun times. I'm glad. Good recommendation, to be honest. And I'll see if I can watch at least a couple. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch all of them. I'm working on a video right now, so we'll see how much free time I have. But I can definitely watch at least a few of the Rocky films. I think I have most of them in a hard drive anyway. So yeah, fun times. All right then. Well, I suppose this is it, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all this that stuff. Um, Patreon or channel membership to get early access to episodes and videos. Um, Evan's channel's in the description. He just posted a new video about season 5 of Slow Horses, which I highly recommend. It's a very good video. And yeah, I think that's all, folks. Evan's computer froze. That's why I'm talking and he's not saying anything. But that's it. We'll catch you next week for Rocky. See you later, folks. Bye bye.